Since 19th of August 2020, I've spent 1,770 quid on the Lotto, plus all the money that I've won. These are all the bits that I've won. So this is my gambling history, recorded alongside the draw history. Now, using this draw history, see what we've got here is the date, the draw number, the numbers in the order that they came out, bonus number, machine, ball set, and this is the number of coincidences on this analyzer. So for instance, put a combination up on here, and then it tells you how many coincidences there are. So you can see these are all the coincidences. So what I can do with these coincidence numbers is produce a coincidence chart, which basically looks at the frequency of each possible number of coincidences and the last time it occurred. So as you can see, in the most recent draw, there were 8 coincidences. That's the 40th time that there's been 8 coincidences, and that is since draw 2066, which is when the numbers increased from 49 up to 59. And so the game changed when that happened. Now, the way that I analyse the numbers is using this spreadsheet, which basically, first of all, applies a filter. See, this is the formula for the filter, and what the filter does is it looks at the draw number, each number in each column, the machine, the ball set, and it also looks at things such as whether or not these numbers are included in the search. And then what I can do with that, as you see, is for each number, measure the frequency and the most recent draw, and do that for each number. And from that I produce this chart. So here we have all the numbers listed by frequency on the x-axis and most recent draw number on the y-axis. So as you can see, there are some numbers that stand out. For instance, we've got the that's drawn most frequently on the horizontal, and the number that is most overdue on the vertical axis. And these numbers are specified in this analysis section, and then this number is the one with the largest area. See, each number has its own area, which basically is defined by the number of squares from the bottom left to the square under the number. And that measures how overdue for its frequency each number is. So in this case, you can see that the most overdue for its frequency is number 40. And then all of this chart, is variable because of this filter system. Basically what that does is enable me to filter these numbers, or change the chart in other words. I can adapt the chart so that, for instance, we can just look at the machine, and so we're only looking at the draws where that machine was used. So based on the pattern that they use for selecting the machines and ball sets, you can predict what machine is going to be next. See, it gets used in fours. They alternate between two machines, and then they switch to a different pair of machines, and it alternates every 4 draws. I don't know why they do that, they just do. But anyway, if we filter the draw history so that we're just looking at the draws where this machine was used, then it changes the chart. You've still got 53 most overdue, but now 52 is not the most frequent. Instead, the most frequent is now 14 on this chart, and the one that's most overdue for its frequency is 10. So we've got different charts for different machines, and then we've got different charts for different ball sets. And what we can also do is just look at the draws where that machine and that ball set was used. So the ball set pattern is incremental. Each week it increases to the next number. So it was 5, 6, 7, and it seems to repeat 3 or 4 numbers in sequence. So here you can see it goes 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it changes to 9, 10, 11, 9, 10, 11. It repeats like that for a few weeks. Then it goes 1, 2, 3. Instead of going to 4, it went back to 1, then 5, then 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, and that's the next one. So if we filter by mailing and 8, we get this chart, and now you can see that number 58 is most overdue for its frequency. It doesn't tell you which is most overdue because you can't. It's both basically. Both these numbers. Most frequent is 18. And if we just look at that ball set on its own, then we get this chart. It takes a long time because it's processing a lot of numbers. Okay, there we go. There's the chart. And when we just look at that ball set, you can see 24 is most overdue. 52 is most frequent now, again. And 58, again, is most overdue for its frequency to occur from ball set 8. This line, you'll notice on a lot of the charts, is the average height of the chart. So, as you can see, hold on a minute. Right. When there's no average line, it'll tell you the average height just there in that cell at the top. And when it's not doing that, it just tells you how the average line is filled. So I could change that pattern, for instance. I could do that, and then it'd fill it differently. See? I don't want it to look like that, so I'll just undo that. So if you're picking your numbers, and suppose you want to pick the one that's most overdue for this ball set, then you would pick 24. And because it's above the average height of the chart, now the average height is defined using a very simple system where basically what we do is we keep track of which one of these numbers is most overdue. So we have each number, each frequency, each most recent draw, and then we have this section where the blue numbers define the overdueness of each number, or in other words, how many draws in this data series it's been since that number was drawn. And so when you get to 24, the most overdue number, you see 52 draws. And that's specified in that cell just there. And then what we do is we define which number it is that's most overdue, and we measure how overdue it is. So we've got the height of the chart basically. So the height of the chart is 52. And if we look, we measure that. See, if you look down there, the count is 52. So that's the height of the chart at the moment. And so to work out the average, what we have to do is keep track of the average height of the chart continuously. So so this goes right back to the beginning. And as soon as it's possible to define grab the chart. What are these numbers? What are these? Right. If Ji4 equals R4, so R4 is frequency. Oh yeah, I remember. Right. So this increases only when um, when we're looking at draws that match the specified criteria. And so, as that increases, and the draw number, basically this is just an averaging system. So we look at the overdueness at each stage in the draw history and add it up to work out the average, and that's how we do that line. So that number there, 35, then it gets specified on the chart, and it works out where to put the average line. But anyway, back to the analyzer. So let's just zoom in on this. Now, at the moment we're looking at the chart for set of balls 8. So that's this row. So everything on this row is about set of balls 8. And each one of these yellow rectangles is an analyzer cell, and it's specifying most overdue for frequency, most frequent. And that's basically this chart. So you've got 24, 58, 52. And then if you were to look at the second most overdue, second most frequent, second most overdue for frequency, then you would see these numbers. Next one down is 53. Next one on there is number 8. And then the next one on there is 58 or 7. Because they're both on the same, in the same column. And so all that gets specified on the analyzer. So what we can do with the analyzer is we can basically summarize a chart in general, a chart for the machine, the chart for the ball set, and the chart for the machine and ball set combined. So all that information, looking at most overdue for frequency, and most frequent numbers, listed in order of how frequent they are. And these values at the side of each number show the frequencies. So you can see the frequency of 52 is 90. So if I look at the chart, the general chart, that is, and then when it figures it out, see, it's having to process millions and millions of cells in order to produce this chart. That's why it takes a long time. So you can see frequency of 52 is 90, which is specified on the analyzer, and it does that for each chart. So I can look at the summary of all 4 of those charts at the same time in this, the general section of the analyzer. The section next to it is the same again, but filtered by a number. And the number filter is this section. So if I'm filtering by number 4, for example, then you'll get a different chart. And if you notice, we've got 25 most overdue, 54 most overdue for frequency, 27 most frequent. And if we look at the analyzer, there are those numbers again, top row. And if we were to look at the second most overdue, frequency, second most frequent, we get these numbers. And then if we filter by the machine, and number 4, looks like that. So each column with a number at the top is basically filtering the draw history to only look at the draws where that number was included in the outcome. Now, there's all kinds of different ways to filter. And over here we've got the temporal filter section. Now at the moment, if you notice, the bonus section is switched off like it is in this section. See, if we put a 0 in the column, then it's saying basically don't look in that column. If we put a 0 in this one, it's basically saying don't include that column. So we're not including the bonus column, which is why on each row there's only 6 numbers. So you can see there's the most recent result. They weren't drawn in that order, they were drawn in this order. And if you look, I got 2 of them right. I've won a lucky dip. So it's possible I could win the jackpot in the next draw with a lucky dip that I won by getting those 2 numbers. Possible, but very improbable. Now, if we include the bonus ball, then on each row we're going to have 7 numbers instead of 6. Because the bonus ball is included in the count. So the frequencies should increase. Yep. So if you notice, 52 was at 90 before, now it's at 100. So it's been the bonus ball 10 times. And when we include the bonus ball, we get a different chart. It looks very different. See, the most overdue number is different now. Because in the last draw it was 28. So now 28 is there. And those are the other 6 numbers. So now there's 7 numbers on each row. Unless they've been drawn again. There's always 7 numbers on the most recent row. Now, if we want to look at just one column, and we want to see the frequency of all the numbers just in like first position, the first number to be drawn. So if we wanted to do that, basically if we wanted to produce a chart just for this series of numbers, first column, then what we would do is turn all the other columns off. Just by placing a 0 in the corresponding cells of this column section. And when we do that, what you're going to see is possibly the reason why I'm picking number 4 in the first column. Now when you do that, we've got a chart now for that series of numbers in the first column. And you notice it's a different shape now. The chart is stretched out vertically. But when we filter by the machine as well, it's going to decrease the number of draws. So vertically, the chart should get smaller, and the frequencies will probably decrease as well, because we're eliminating some of the data. So the frequencies have decreased, but it's not really done much vertically. But if we filter by the ball set as well, then we should get an interesting result. Just wait for it to update. It doesn't seem to have changed yet. Oh, there we go. I think it's done it. Now, there we go. And there's number 4. So that's the reason why I would consider picking number 4 in first place. Because it is the number in that series for this machine and ball set at that position. It's the one with the largest area. Not much of a reason to go on, but we can do the same for each column. And if we do that, and filter by machine, ball set, machine and ball set, or just look at the column in general without filtering, and for each one we're going to get a different result. So here you see 58 is the one with the largest area in the second column. And so if you do that for each column, then see, this is the old analyzer, and I've updated it, upgraded it, add some new features, done all kinds of stuff with it. And I've made a new one, and this is the new one. So we've got, the same coincidence counter, general section for each number, but down here we've got the temporal analysis. So that chart we've just been looking at, the one for mailing 8 and second column. So we've got mailing 8, second out. That means it's this chart here. So this cell is summarising that chart. We've also got the same number in that one. See, number 4 strung in first column with ball set 8, 58 strung in the second column with ball set 8. And in the third we've got 5, and then 8 second most overdue for frequency with ball set 8 in the fourth column. And there's a reason why I've picked these numbers. Now, the reason why I picked these numbers, I'll show you in a minute. Now, this section basically um, measures the area of each pair of numbers. These are pairs on this chart, not individual numbers. So this is pair number 1, has a frequency of 9. It's not been drawn for 300 draws. And if you look, there's the one at the top of this list, 8 and 58, and they are listed in order of how much the M values on each chart add up to. And so what I'm saying is, if we look at the chart for each number in the pair and see what the area is under the other number in that pair. So for instance, if we look at number 58, you can see that number 8 has got a very large area. And then if we look at the chart for number 8, so basically we're measuring the frequencies of all the numbers only in the draws where number 8 was one of the numbers drawn. So you won't see number 8 on its own chart, you'll just see all the other numbers with number 8. And on this one, there you can see 58 has got the largest area. So if we look at this list on the analyzer, then you can see each number has got a number paired with it, which is whichever number is most overdue for its frequency on that number's chart. So on 8's chart, you can see it's 58. The value of M is 315. You can just check that. So we've got 45 by 7, which is 315. So it's 315. And then if we look at the value of 8 on 58's chart, then it's 245. And so what we do is we add those two numbers up and get 560. And if we do that for every pair, we get a different sum for each pair. Now, the pairs where the number that's most overdue for its frequency on a numbers chart is the same as the number, if basically the most overdue for the frequencies both with each other, it's a mutual pair. And there are 11 mutual pairs at the moment and 48 that are just not mutual, but you know, high ranking anyway. So if we look at the pair chart, then we get the numbers ranked in a different order. So as you can see, on this one we've got 858, in second place 17 and 38, then 1 and 3 and so on. But if you look on the pair chart, you'll find that the pair with the largest area is 8 and 58. Second to that, it's 26 and 35. which is only 6 in this ranking system. So it's different depending how you look at it. So each pair has got like a different M value. And if you rank them by M values, then 17 and 38, for example, which is the second highest ranking pair, is actually the one with the 5th largest area on this pairs chart. But the one with the largest area, number 1, is also the top ranking pair. It's a mutual pair and it's 8 and 58. Now, if we look at number 58's chart, it's like, if we look at 8's chart, for instance, there's 58. It's most overdue as well as most overdue for frequency. It's now pushing up the average height of the chart. So these two numbers, it's like, if I look at a chart for all the numbers based on just the draws where these two numbers have occurred together in a combination, then what we'll find is that there's been how many draws? There's been 9 draws where this pair's come out together, and since then, since draw 2, 3, 5, 1, there's been nothing. And we're now up to draw 2, 7, 2, 2. So it's over 400 draws since the last time this pair was drawn together. And up until that last time, it had quite a high frequency. And then all of a sudden it's just dropped off and stopped, which is kind of anomalous. If it was completely random, then that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't get 9 draws altogether and then none at all where that pair occurs. So that pair basically is very much outstanding at the moment to be drawn. And if we look, we've got 58, 58, 8. The numbers at the moment, that pair is most outstanding. Now, if we look at all the coincidences on this analyzer, what we've got is, see, these charts are the ones that include the bonus ball, which is why it says all 7. Just there. I don't know if you can see that. Oops. Yeah, all 7. These 4 cells summarize the charts, including the bonus ball, for each of the same filter variables as the upper section. But then on this lower section, these are the charts for just that column. And each of the columns, and the bonus bar as well, which is interesting. So at the moment, it's in coincidence mode. I'm just showing you the coincidences. There's a lot of them. And if we count them, it adds up to 17. Now, if we look at the coincidence chart, we see every number up to 18 except for 17. So over 100, nearly 100 draws ago, there was a draw where there was 18 coincidences. That's the highest there's ever been. So my little selection of numbers would produce 17 coincidences, and on this chart it will be the first time, so we've got 3, 2, 1. So in that column, the next draw will be 2723. And if there were 17 coincidences in the next draw, the chart would expand so that the frequency goes down to 1, and a 17 would appear in that cell there, instead of moving from somewhere else, because it's the first time it's appeared. Now, this analyzer is a new version of this. So if you look at this one, I mean, you can see, you can see the reasons, some of the reasons why I've chose these numbers in this order. So 58, for example, in the second column, that's where it's strongest, and number 8, strongest in the third column. And then the number that's most overdue for its frequency, number 40, there's a reason why I picked that, and there's a reason why I picked the others. And I'll get to, in fact, I'll just show you. Order codes. Now, each combination is drawn in a completely random order, and here are the order codes. So basically, in fact, I'll show you on the chart. I'll show you this section. Right. So if you take these numbers that are on the analyzer, and let's assume they come out in the next draw, hypothetically, fuck's sake, it takes so fucking long. Didn't even want to go on that one anyway. Fuck off. Jesus Christ, how long's it fucking take? You know? Right. Come on. Right, we're on the correct analyzer. Yeah, too. Now, if those numbers come out in the next draw, oh my god, it takes so long. It takes so long. This is why I don't upload videos anymore. Because it just takes so fucking long. Finally. Right, if that combination came out in the next draw, then this would happen. in a minute. So you can see number 40 there, one of the numbers that I would pick because it's most overdue frequency. But that's not entirely the reason why I picked it. So this is where the numbers are. So now you can see where they are. Okay, and if we move over to this section, we can also see what order I've put them in. So we've got lowest, second highest, second lowest, third lowest, highest, second highest, in that order. Order number 74. Now, this is where I get the order numbers from. These are the order codes. They are all listed in this array. And what that does is it has an increasing counter on the side, and it has all the possible order codes in ascending numerical order. So if we converted these 6 digits into a 6-digit number, put them all into ascending numerical order, and it fills this array with a total of 720 possible orders, which is the product of 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6. If you work it out, it's 720. So there are 720 order codes. That means if we start with 45 million possible combinations, divide that by 720. So if we take that, divide it by 720, what? Can't be right. An extra digit. 62,580. So we're starting with odds that are 45 million to 1, and we're decreasing it to 63,000 to 1. And that's if we can get the order code. So what I'm saying is, when I look at this chart, if I could predict that the numbers are going to be drawn in this order, order number 74, which is the 74th order, if you're looking at the possible orders in ascending numerical order, the 74th 6-digit number that we could produce from these numbers in this order is 152364. And so, for that reason, I've arranged the numbers in this order: lowest, second lowest, third lowest, fourth lowest, second highest, highest. So, it was easy to figure out the numbers once I'd figured out the order code. Now, why 74? Why would I pick order number 74? Well, I'll show you. For each combination, oh god damn it, I can land on it. It's such a huge spreadsheet. It's hard to navigate. But anyway, here's the order codes. So the most recent combination, they came out in this order. The 358th order. And so we've got frequency counters for each order code. And if we get to order 358, the most recent one, then you will see where the counter increased. So it went from 5 to 6. So I've got a counter for each order code. And over here, I'm measuring the overdueness of each order code. And then I work out the M value from that. And it turns out that the order code with the highest M value, based on the draw history, is 74. With an M value of 11,176. So if you can imagine the size of the chart on which there's an area with 11,000 cells in it under that number, you can imagine it's a huge chart. So I'm not even going to bother attempting to produce a chart of it like this one. Now I could just use one of Microsoft's charts, one of these. Where are they? Insert. I could use one of these, but they're rubbish, absolute rubbish, those charts. I prefer just to use the sheet itself as the canvas for the chart. So that's why I predicted order code 74, which is this one, 152364. So when I was picking my numbers, and I was looking at the analyzer, I noticed they've come round to, you can see number 8 second most frequent in general anyway. So it's a frequent number, and 58 has popped up with ball set 8. So when ball set 8 comes into play in the next draw, which is tonight, there's a very good chance that 58 could be drawn. And in the second temporal position as well. So there's a good chance 58 could come out second based on the draw history, which is what I'm analysing. So this is all based on the draw history. And then number 8 has a good chance of coming out fourth, because this is where it stands out the most. I mean, if I go into coincidence mode, I just eliminate these other numbers for now, which takes forever. Come on. Here we go. Right. So, when you look at it like this, I know I want to pick this pair, and I know that it's the most outstanding pair for this machine and ball set, and in general. Then, based on the order codes, based on the draw history, it looks like I want to have the 5th largest number in the second column, and I mean the 3rd largest number in fourth column. So if 58 is in this column and 8 is in this column, because these are the columns where they stand out the most, then based on this order code, I'm going to need a smaller number than 8 in this column and the smallest number of all in this column. So when I looked at the temporal section at the bottom, so in this column I'm looking for a number smaller than 8, and so the only one that stands out is either 7 or 5. 5 stands out more than 7 for that machine and ball set. Or the other option is number 2, which is second most frequent. But if you look in the general section, 5 is second most overdue to be spat out by that machine. So pick number 5 to go there in the third column. Then we need a number smaller than 5 that stands out in the first column, which is obviously going to be 4. There's no other number. So 4 goes there. And then, because of this order code, we need a number larger than 58 in this column. So we don't even have to bother looking at this because there's only one number that could go there. And then the final number just needs to be any number between 8 and 58. We're already up to 14 coincidences, which is a high number of coincidences. It's got a very low frequency. Not very likely to happen based on its frequency, but I need a low number of coincidences. I mean, if you're starting with 8 and 58, you've already got 13 coincidences to start with. So adding 5 didn't produce any. Adding 4 didn't produce any. Adding 59 produces 1. And if we add 40, because it's most overdue for its frequency, it's also frequent with number 5. Second most frequent with number 8. If we add that, it goes up to 17. So now you know how I picked my numbers. And the reason why I picked 33 had something to do with the bonus ball. Because on the chart for the bonus ball, or the chart for all 7 numbers, which includes the bonus ball, which is this one, then the number 33 is there. But why would I pick 33? Well, there's a reason why. The number that's most overdue for its frequency is tracked the same as the most overdue number is tracked. From the most overdue number, by tracking that, I can produce the average chart height, which is that line. 37.7 it is at the moment, so See, that only goes up to 36. So the average line would be up here. But I can track the frequency numbers, the most frequent numbers, and the M numbers. Now, the M numbers, I can produce a chart just for the M numbers. So I can arrange all the numbers in terms of the frequency and most recent draw, while only looking at the draws where the M number was drawn in the combination. So if number 40 gets drawn in this draw, then that would enable me to move over onto this chart, which is the M chart. M stands for most overdue for frequency. And when it produces the M chart, and that's the reason why we've got two number counting or number palace sheets. See, the first one works out which is the M number. See, at the end it works out which number it is. In this case it's 40. And then on the next one it counts if well, on the next one it reiterates the entire process, to be honest. But on the next one you can see 33 is by far the most overdue to occur with whatever number is most overdue for its frequency in a draw, which in this case is 40. Now 40 and 33 have a very interesting relationship with each other, which I can show you on a normal chart for number 40. So it makes sense for 33 to be drawn in a draw with number 40. And that's when we're looking at all 7 numbers, including the bonus. Right? And the reason why is because 40 and 33 occur very frequently together. Okay, we're up to 1 hour so far. 1 hour. Now where's 33 now? On 40's chart. What the hell? That don't make no sense. 33, one of the least frequent with number 40. I was expecting it to be most frequent. That's a bit strange. I can show you why I was expecting it to be one of the most frequent. Come on, wake up. There it is. That's interesting. Right, the reason why I was expecting it to be most frequent is because we can also filter by the order code. I think that had something to do with it. Oh dear. Why it takes so long? Well, 33 and 40 used to be most frequent together. That was probably back when it was a 49 number. What? Anyway, if we filter by that order code, it's only occurred 7 times in the entire draw history dating back to 1994. So that's a lot of data being processed just to produce that. We can also filter by partial order codes. And what that means is, instead of narrowing it down to just one specific order code and then filtering the draw history to only include the draws where the numbers came out in the order, in the order specified, what we can do is look at draws where just parts of the order code for the numbers drawn match with the numbers that I'm specifying. So for instance, if I just look at the draws where the second out was fifth largest and the fourth out was third largest, we get a chart that looks like this. Oh look, number 8, most overdue on that chart. That makes sense. Yeah. This combination that I've picked, it just seems to make a lot of sense. But anyway, if we don't filter by order code at all and look at the full draw history, then you should be able to see that 33 and 40 one of the most frequent pairs. And I actually won £1,020 by putting 17 lines, 17 two-number optics on 33 and 40, because I'd already observed that it was the most frequent pair. See, now you can see it. Look, this is the old data mixed with the new data. See, that's where the numbers in the 50s were added. Oh look, 58, one at most overdue. Out of those, and you can see 40, very frequent with 33. But I seem to remember it had something to do with that order code as well. The reason why 33 should come out, but I was looking at that days ago and I forgot now. So anyway, right, back to the analyzer. So you can see why I've picked these numbers in this order. Bonus ball don't matter anyway. I'm not even gonna bet on it. I'm just gonna bet on these numbers. For my next ticket, that's what I'm gonna buy. But anyway, back to the analyzer. Now, each analyzer cell, each one of these squares, count how many there is. You can see there's a dozen in each cell. and there are 4 cells, so that's 48 in each column, and there's 8 columns altogether. That's 48 times 8. There's 2 sections, the upper row and the bottom row. That's 48 times 8 times 2. Or, in other words, 96 times 4. Oh my god. Hang on a minute. How many is there? Can't be right. 12 times 4 times 2. 108 sections times 8 sections. 768. 768. Oh, look. This only goes up to 105. But each position on the analyzer has a position code. There are 768 position codes. So I can count how many times a coincidence has occurred at each position on the analyzer, and also measure how long it's been since a coincidence last occurred at each position on the analyzer. And I can work out how overdue an occurrence is for its frequency at each position on the analyzer. So once again, I am reiterating the frequency and recency chart producing process to figure out stuff like this. These are color coded according to frequency, color coded according to overdueness, and color coded according to how overdue for its frequency each position on the analyzer is. And then this becomes this. And on the third level analyzer, I've managed to get the color codes from most overdue for frequency analysis color coding section. Managed to get that to run in parallel with the numbers from analyzer 2. And then we can look at the coincidences and see how bright they are. The theory being that the ones that are brightest lit are most likely to occur. So for instance, you can see 58, or should I say, whichever number is top in the, what is it, machine, ball set. So whichever number's top in the ball set, high probability of occurring. So I'll show you what it looks like with all the numbers. So you can see 44 very brightly lit in first place, but 44 in general, second most overdue. Oh, most overdue in the all 7 section, which includes the bonus. So I don't know, maybe maybe I've picked the wrong numbers. But if you're picking your numbers and you want something to go on, I mean, these are the numbers that stand out, especially 58, 8 and 58. If you want to apply the order code that I've applied, you might end up picking the same numbers as me, because there's not much choice really. Because if 58's there, and that's the largest, that's got to be 59. Then we've got these two, which are the logical choice for numbers smaller than 8. And then in this column, it's a choice between either 10 or 40, or maybe 53 or something. I don't know. I chose 40 because it's only going to produce one coincidence there, plus this one and this one, which are pretty major coincidences, pretty good ones. So those are my numbers, so you can ignore those, really. You don't really need to look at that. But anyway, I'll just clear them off and show you the default view of Analyzer 3. For your information, as a reference, so I've got general section, machine, ball set, machine and ball set combined. That's those. I think C44 is quite brightly lit then. And then we've got the same again, but all 7. That includes a bonus ball. See, 58 is quite bright on that as well. Then we've got the first temporal column, second temporal column, third temporal, fourth, fifth, sixth, and finally the bonus. See, you might be better off picking something like 36 as the bonus, or maybe 45, or any of these numbers. So I think that is enough information for one video. It's already an hour and 18 minutes long, which is pretty much long enough. And that is the story of why I am picking these numbers for tonight's draw. So, I will leave you with one last thing. One last thing, and I forgot what it was now. God damn it. Oh, yeah. That's it. The one last thing I was gonna show you on this chart for what we're looking at. Why is that in show mode? It's not. Oh, it's all full draw history. Oh, 40 is most frequent since 1994. Look, after 2,722 draws, the most frequent number is 40. And I've picked it for my ticket tonight. I just need to buy a ticket now. One last thing to do. Buy a ticket with these numbers and then see what happens. Right, draw depth 40. M3 to F max ratio 2.125. What does that mean? Well, on the old number palace, the original, before I added the second one, once I'd finally started tracking the M numbers, F numbers and O numbers to produce, well, basically to answer the question. The question was, are the M numbers more frequent than the F numbers? Which means, does the number that's most overdue for its frequency, i.e. the one with the largest area, occur more frequently than the one that has the highest frequency on any chart in any draw, based on the draw history. And so far, the answer to that question would be no, because the M frequency is 85, the F frequency is 96. Right? But at a draw depth of 40 draws, which means that 40 draws in since this new game started, if we go back to 2106, and I've done that the wrong way around, should have changed the other one. Right, hang on 1 minute. Come out of analysis mode. So select that, select that, and delete them all, because they're all wrong. Change, if I change that to what it should be, then what we should find is that we're looking at a draw depth of 40. And then the frequency of the most overdue for frequency number in proportion to the frequency of the most frequent number should be 2.125. So if we go back now, here it is, 2.125. 17 divided by 6 2.125 or 2.83, whatever. So it would appear as though the number that is most overdue for its frequency occurs much more frequently, nearly 3 times as frequently as the most frequent number. However, it's a bit of a con, because I'll show you why. In order to define which number is most frequent, you have to find one number that has the highest value. And at the moment it's 8. And if we go across to where it defines the number that is more frequent, it can't define it, because it's not one number, so it's not defined. And this lack of definition, due to the fact that the frequencies are smaller than the M values, see, these numbers are like double digits, yeah, so it's easier to define which number is most overdue for frequency. It's more easy to define that than to define the most frequent number, which is why there's a high M3 to Fmax ratio at this low draw depth. So what use is that information? Well, I'll show you. The use of that information is that if you look only as far back as the depth at which the highest ratio occurs, then it gives you a different number. So if the last draw was 2722, and we go back 40 draws, then we'll be going back to draw 2682. What then? Right, 2682. And that'll change the shape of the chart. So if we were to only look at the last 40 draws, then we would get different frequencies. Obviously, it's going to be much smaller frequencies. So if we look at the last 40 draws, we've still got 40, most overdue for its frequency. And, oh look, 4, nicely on the edge of that chart as well, that's good. So we get different numbers, basically, if we do that. Usually, in this case, we've still got 40. You know, so like, people like to look at, for instance, the frequencies of the numbers just in the last 100 draws. Now, I don't know if they still do it, but that's what they used to feature on the National Lottery website. They would tell you how many times each number has occurred in the last 100 draws. So if we look at the last 100 draws, then these are the numbers arranged by frequency and most recent draws in general. So we've got different frequencies now. So these are the frequencies of the numbers. So if you're looking for that information, that's where it is. And these are the numbers, these are the frequencies. And so if you wanted to look at that information and filter it by the machine, then these are the numbers based. This is the chart of the numbers by frequency and recent draw number for that machine in the last 100 draws when it wakes up. So there you go, that's filtered by the machine. So I'll filter that by the ball set as well to get a different chart. So if any of the numbers you're looking for aren't on there, they're probably in one of these cells. When there's 3 numbers in the same cell, it doesn't specify what the numbers are, it just tells you how many numbers are there. And the idea of that is that if I wanted to see what numbers are in a particular cell or column, like for instance, this is telling me how many, well, which numbers are in the 0 column, but I could also look at a specific cell. So for instance, I could look at this one. It'll tell me which 3 numbers it is. So all the information is there. you just can't always see it. So that's the numbers arranged for the ball set. If I showed you for the machine and ball set, it'd be a ridiculously small chart, so there's not much point bothering really. Because it's only looking at the last 100 draws. I prefer to look at all the draws and get like the full picture, the full information. So what I do is I just look at since draw 2066. So that's the conclusion of this video for today. For now, I hope it helps you pick your numbers, and good luck into next draw.